Good day, everyone. We are Group 5, and today we will present Shintoism. So, early traces of Shinto practices are traced back from 300 BC to 300 CE during the Yayoi period. Now, next slide. Fun fact, did you know that around 80% of Japanese people participate in Shinto practices, but only 3 to 4% identify themselves as believers in Shinto? Some of them are believers of Buddhism while practicing Shintoism. And you yourself, you could also practice Shintoism by visiting the shrines while not really identifying yourself as Shinto. Now, what are its origin from the word Shinto? Next slide. The word Shinto means, in their own words, means Shan Tao. Shan meaning to divine, meaning divine beings, and Tao meaning the way. And overall, Shinto means the way of gods or the kami. So in the next page, we'll discuss the four types of Shinto and its further origins. Next slide. While several institutions are pra- while several institutions and practices now associated with Shinto existed in Japan by the 8th century, various scholars have argued that Shinto as a distinct religion was essentially invented during the 19th century in Japan's Meiji era. Now, there are four types of Shinto: the state, shrine, sect, and folk. The state Shinto is the Imperial Japan's ideological use of the Japanese folk religion and traditions of Shinto. The state exercised control of shrines, finances, and training regimes for priests to strongly encourage them into uh, practicing and emphasizing the emperor as a divine being. Now, the emperor that they mean is Emperor Meiji, which was known as a living kami until he renounced himself. And the next type of Shinto is the shrine. It is the closest to the traditional form of Shinto that is used to date back to prehistoric times. The third type of Shinto is the sect Shinto, which started in this 19th century and included 13 major independent sects that are officially recognized by the Japanese government. This type of Shinto is officially recognized by the government. While on the other hand, the fourth type of Shinto, which is the folk Shinto, is not recognized by the various national reforms. It is practiced by ordinary Japanese people at their local shrines. Uh, in addition to that, they also don't have shrines or have priests to take care of the place. Now, in the next slide, to practice Shinto, one must worship the kami. Now, what are kami? Kamis are spirits found in all living things and non-living things. Kami control the forces, the nature, and in order to win the favor of the kami, one must one must perform praying or offering or visiting the shrines of the particular kami. Now, to further explain what is kami, let us go to the next slide. To further explain what is kami, by kami, the definition of kami it means god or deity, but it's not really a great translation for kami because kami can be a various types of spirits of land and landscape, forces of nature, and spirits of the dead or ancestor and warriors. And even so, humans can also become a kami after their death. For example, in the case of Tengen, a 10th century scholar that was so smart that he became a kami of academics. So when he died, so when it's time for academics na, ang mga tao mag-pray siya for luck in passing exams. There also is the case of Mikami Jinja, once a man named Fujiwara, which was a spectacular hairdresser, and after its death, nemo siyang kami of the hair. In the next slide, we'll discuss Musubi. So, Musubi, the spirit of birth and becoming, birth accomplishment combination, the creating and harmonizing of powers. The working of Musubi has fundamental significance in Shinto because creative development forms the basis of the Shinto worldview. Musubi also unites everything. Now, what is the cycle of reciprocity between man and kami? In the next slide, we can see that a man respects the kami. In return, the kami will take care of the man. And vice versa. Now, what is an example for this? For example, katong gi-brought up na ko na kami na the kami of hair si Mikami Jinja. For example, bald hair ka, wala kay buhok. Pwede ka mo praise siya or mo perform o things sa iya as ay kami kay para matubuan kag buhok. There is also a concept of shinbatsu. Now, mo siya bali mo siya in a negative way. For example, if you have a failure to perform the correct rituals or if imong disrespect ang kanis, one, it can lead you to punishment or ilang gitawag na shinbatsu, usually in a form of illness. So, balik ta sa example na kami na si Mikami Jinja. For example, na nakaibok, yamen ka, wa na ko'y pakiani na kani kay na makibok, then na ko niya maapektuhan. Pwede ka niya tagan og shinbatsu, usually in a form of illness, hatagan ka niya sakit, para mawala ang imong mga buhok. So in the next part, we will discuss the origin, the creation story which will be read by John Ruther.
Continuing, origin, the creation story of Shintoism. In the beginning, the world split into the heavens and the earth, and three kami deities of the heavenly realm came into being. Then, the first reeds took root and sprouted, and two more kami deities came to be. These first five kami deities were formless and had no partners. Thereafter, however, pairs of partner kami deities were born in succession. The seventh and final generation was the male Izanagi no Mikoto and the female Izanami no Mikoto. The birth of the islands of Japan. After descending to the island, which was made by Izanagi by swirling his heavenly spear in the ocean, they descended. Then Izanagi and Izanami became aware of the differences in their bodies and decided to join together to give birth to the country. And so, they married by circling a sacred pose 3 times and taking their bows. Izanami spoke her vows first, but their attempts to have children ended poorly. What they mean by attempts to have children that ended poorly was their first child, which was limbless and boneless. Then they threw this child in the ocean. Then, and later on, that child came to be Kami. Okay. Next, after Izanami spoke her vows first, then Izanagi attempted to speak his vows first. This time, they successfully gave birth to the islands of Japan and a host of other kami deities to give them shape. This included deity of the seas, the wind, the mountains, and all manner of natural phenomena. Unfortunately, Izanami was gravely injured giving birth to the fire kami deity and soon died. Izanagi mourned and missed her terribly, and before long decided to travel to the land of the dead to get her back. A long time passed in Izanami's absence, and Izanagi grew impatient. At last, he decided to disregard Izanami's request and went to look for her. To his horror, he discovered her as a frightful, decaying corpse. Izanami was furious at being seen, and Izanagi fled in terror. He quickly exited the land of the dead. Izanami chased after him, but she soon found her way blocked by a large boulder and could follow Izanagi no further. Izanagi had placed the boulder and so trapped Izanami in the land of the dead. Izanagi's Misogi. After escaping, Izanagi declared the land of the dead an ugly and defiled place. He decided to purify himself by cleansing. This act is today considered the origin of Misogi, a ritual cleansing done at Shinto shrines and ceremonies where one bathes or immerses oneself in water. As Izanagi washed his face, three significant deities were born. The sun kami Amaterasu, Umikami, from his left eye. This is her. The moon kami Tsukumi no Mikoto from his right eye, just this one. And the kami of the sea Susano no Mikoto from his nose, this one. Izanagi gave these three the children the duties of ruling respectively the heavenly realm, the night realm, and the seas.
The purpose of Shintoism is humans are thought to be fundamentally good, and evil is believed to be the cause of evil spirits. Consequently, the purpose of most Shinto rituals is to keep away the evil spirits by purifications, prayers, and offerings are also called as shinsen to the kami. Next slide, please. So, the Shinto, or the indigenous religion of Japan, emphasizes living with sincerity and virtue possible only by an awareness of the divine. So, the fundamental beliefs in Shinto are these four affirmation, which is first is the tradition and family. They believe that the family is the foundation for preserving traditions, and then love in nature, or the holding nature sacred. Then the third is misogi, or the ritual washing. This is a ritual bathing to spiritually and physically cleanse yourself before entering a shrine to worship the kami. So, the misogi is just part of the purification. Daghan ang actually classes na apel sa purification, and si misogi is one of them. Ang other example ani is Temizo, Shibatsu, and Hergoshe. So ang Misoji is it includes bathing in ocean or even standing sa waterfall. And then ang Temizu naman is before sila enter sa shrine, naa na siya tank of water, and then naa na siya wooden ladles. Ang wooden ladles mo na siya ang murag as if nga kabo bitaw para makakuha sila og water. And then, dili sila pwede directly mo inom dito sa wooden ladles. Kay dapat, first, hugasan sa imong left hand. And then, katong water is imong ibutang sa imong right hand. And then, dito din kagikan mo inom og water to rinse your mouth. And then, after nimo mag-rinse og imong mouth, is, di ba, iluwa man na nimo. Dili nimo siya pwede ibalik sa water tank. Dapat, iluwa nimo siya sa floor. And then, ang shubatsu naman is, dili siya gagamit og water, but rather than salt. So this usually purification is at the beginning sa sumo match, in which ang tanan salt is nakaspread around the ring to keep the impurity. And then ang harigushi naman is dili siya nagagamit og salt or water, but rather than a ritual one. So ang katong ritual one mo to iyang ginagamit para makapurify a person or a new car or even a land before the construction begins to purify and bring good fortune para sa ilaha. And then the last is the Matsuri, or the festival that worship and honor the kami. So it is worshiping and honoring gods and ancestral spirits. So at Matsuri, or the festivals, nakita ni mo diri ang katong tulok, which is ang purifications, prayers, and offerings are also called as shinsen. And aside ana na po yung mga cheerful community activities like the mikoshi, or the portable Shinto shrine, where the kami is carried around the community to regularly show the kami to the outside world. And then sometimes ginacarry pud nila ang katong mikoshi sa ocean as an act of purification gihapon, which is kind of the same sa misogi, but katong mikoshi lang ginadala sa ocean. And then their festivals are held twice a year to drive out pollutants or impurities. Next slide. And then the most common tamo emblem has three flames, which can be seen sa picture. I think kanang black niya, muna siya ang iyang three flames. This reflects the threefold division of Shinto cosmology, representing the earth, the heavens, and then the humankind.
So, continuing sa purification, generally referred as harai, also called as misugi. So, ang kaning harai kay muna siya ang central ritual in Shinto perform to cleanse both ang mind and body. So, ang kaning misugi is kanang ni siya, isa ni siya ka practices pud sa Shinto nga kwan ilahang gina-undergo ni sa sa kanang waterfalls nga bugna ang tubig para ma-cleanse ang mind ug ang body. The purpose of purification is to remove spiritual pollution, which is called sumi or kigari. This pollution is anything that separates someone from the creative musubi nature of kami. Next. So, muna ang examples of kigari, ang uncleanliness, ang death, blood disease. So, na under ay na belong ni siya sa kigari, it's because ang kigari is kanang siya kanang natural phenomena bitaw nga mahitabo sa tao, which is ang death, ang disease, ug ang blood. Ang blood represent sa kanang menstruation bitaw. So next, ang examples of tsumi or sin mo ni siya ang crime, murder, disrespect, ang kanang pagkuan sa legal nga kuan bitaw law, pag bitaw gani kanang paglabag. So ang sa sumi kay pwede nimo siya ma-remedy katong kwan using ang purification katong haray o ang misugi. Next. While there is no central holy book definitively describing Shinto tradition, there are few widely revered and respected texts. The Kojiki, record of ancient matters. Ang kaning the Kojiki kay known ni siya kanang as one kanang pag-born sa island sa mga island sa Japan. Tapos the Rokokushi, Six National Histories, the Shoko Nihongi and its Nihon Shoki, Continuing Chronicles of Japan, the Jino Shotoki, Shinto and Japanese politics and history written in the 14th century.
Shrines. Shrines are used for worship of kami and are public, though private shrines are also used. So, ang shrine daw, dili daw, isa na yung place nga para mag-worship, ay i-worship nila ang kami. Mga niya mga tao diri para i-worship ang kami. Shrines have tori, a distinctive Japanese gate which is made of two upright and two crowbars. These serve as a part of the barrier to separate the living world and the world of the kami. Ang tori daw is gate ni siya para murag boundary sa mga murag sa living person o sa mga kami. Two guardian animals are often placed at each side of the gate to protect the entrance. Currently, there are over 100,000 shrines in operation. Kami are invoked at many important ceremonies, such as wedding and entrance into an university. For funerals, Buddhism is usually looked upon because Shinto focuses on how to live one life as opposed to how to prepare an afterlife. Next. Gushintai is an object where a kami lives in, but it's not the kami itself. The shrine and the Gushintai is taking care of the priest called Kanushi.
Destiny. Modern Shinto ideas about the afterlife largely revolve around the idea that the spirit survives bodily death and continues to assist the living. After 33 years, it then becomes part of the family kami. These ancestral spirits are sometimes thought to reside in the mountains. So, ang ancestral spirits dahil kay ang guardian or caretaker sa mga kuan ka ng mountains or agricultural events. Shinto afterlife beliefs also include the obaki. Obaki means restless spirits who died in bad circumstances and often seek revenge. So, ang obaki is a bad ghost na they seek for revenge. Next, please. The ultimate goal. The overall aims of Shinto ethics are to promote harmony and purity in all spheres of life. Like pareha sa Confucianism kay they promote harmony and purity. Purity is not just spiritual purity but moral purity, having a pure and sincere heart. Next. Spirituality. Shinto worship is a highly ritualized and follows strict conventions of protocol, order, and control. It can take place in the home or shrines. So, ang example ani Shinto worship is kanang adoration, like bowing to the altar, and purification. Purification this takes place before the main ceremony. The second one is the spirit of Shinto worship. In keeping of Shinto values, Shinto ritual should be carried out in a spirit of sincerity, cheerfulness, and purity. And third and last one is Shinto worship and the senses. Shinto ritual is intended to satisfy the senses as well as the minds of those taking part. So the way in which it is carried out is of huge importance. Shinto ceremonies have strong aesthetic elements. Because Shintos are strict from worshiping, so they have the setting and the props and the sounds, the dress of the priest and the language and speech are all intended to please the kami to whom the worship is offered. So ang example sa dress of the priest kay ang karigeno is everywhere of Shinto priest. The settings of worship are private and public worship. Worship at home are also called kami dana or kami shelf and worship in shrine. Next. To be there is quote by Yukitaka Yamamoto. To be fully alive is to have an aesthetic perception of life because a major part of the world's goodness lies in its often unspeakable beauty. That's all. Thank you.